What's up guys, it's Morphin Time. There's no doubt about it that Power Rangers was a very important part of every child's life growing up, and I'm sure y'all identified with one of them. I personally loved Trini, the Yellow Ranger, and I was genuinely devastated and inconsolable when I heard about the actress's untimely death. But the more I watched Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the more I realized that some of the best episodes involved the new Rangers that we had never seen before. It's like they spiced up the daily routine with their iconic as hell entrances and super heavy, emotionally loaded backstories. These special Rangers were often more layered and complex than other characters, and as I grew up, that complexity absolutely sold me on them. So in this video, we're diving deep into 6 of the most iconic Special Rangers ever. We're covering everything from their origin to their defining moments, and why you should definitely not underestimate them. So, let's get started.
Morph into the Green Ranger!
Tommy Oliver, Green Ranger. Come on guys, we obviously have to start with Tommy Oliver. He had one of the most well-done character arcs in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and became a crowd favorite very quickly. He was introduced during the 5-episode Green with Evil arc, and honestly, it instantly set a darker tone than anything the show had explored up to that point. It all started with episode 17, where Tommy is introduced as a student who has recently transferred to Angel Grove High. Now the episode begins with the Angel Grove Martial Arts Expo, where we see our Power Rangers hyping up Jason for his next matchup. And who is he up against? Well, of course Tommy, who's all dressed in green. Duh! And Kimberly does call him cute, which we honestly cannot deny. He also has some hella impressive martial art chops. Beware, Jason. Meanwhile, Rita Repulsa on her moon palace is spying on the Rangers, as usual, with her Repulsa scope. Geez, obsessed much? And the moment she sees Tommy, she knows he'll be a great Green Ranger. And hey, I do admire her plan. It's a pretty smart move, playing one of their own against them. Imagine the Power Rangers being destroyed by a fellow teenager at the same school. Now, in their battle at the Expo, it seems like they are fairly evenly matched. Of course, it's one hell of a battle, with Jason taking the first point and Tommy taking the second. And I must say, those were some impressive backflips by Tommy. He pretty easily started dominating by the third point he scored. Of course, Jason wasn't going to back down either, and the match ended as a 4-4 draw. Tommy even earned the respect of Jason, and the liking of Kimberly, who totally had a crush on him. He even sort of protected her from Bulk and Skull. Overall seemed like a really nice guy, which is why what happened next sucked even more. Not long after, Rita Repulsa pretty much cursed and kidnapped him to make him her evil Green Ranger. He just had to pass her test of defeating the Putty Patrol, which he obviously did. She captured him in her crystal ball and used the 6th Dragon Power coin to turn him into the Green Ranger. And boy was he under complete mind control. Their plan was pretty simple. Since he had the power coin, he could now enter the Rangers Command Center, and there he would disable Zordon and then destroy the Power Rangers. And that's exactly what he did. He was transported to the Command Center, installed a virus into Alpha 5, and successfully decommissioned and depowered Zordon by destroying the control panels and ripping out all the wires. Voila! Job done! In fact, he even proved himself by fighting all 5 of the Power Rangers at the same time and defeating them. What a power move, man! He could even use the Dragon Dagger to summon and control the Dragon Zord. Clearly he proved himself as a pretty formidable opponent. I did find it really upsetting when he was rude to Kimberly. Yeah, he was under mind control and whatnot, but he did my girl dirty. And then came his next battle with Jason. You see, Rita had given him the Sword of Darkness, which would amplify his dark powers and also keep him under her control. She then transported both Tommy and Jason into the Dark Dimension to face Goldar, and that too without his powers. Crazy, right? Imagine being hell-bent on killing teenagers. Now, Tommy couldn't just sit on the sidelines for long and took over the battle himself. No surprises here, he very convincingly defeated Jason, but the moment he was about to land his final blow, the Rangers teleported Jason out of there. This angered Rita Repulsa, who then trapped Tommy in the Dark Dimension for failing to kill Jason. Poor Tommy, man. This kid really just needs some love and support. Tommy is freed again soon because duh, Rita needs someone to do her bidding. And he ends up in the command center to sabotage it, but this time Alpha is ready and he traps Tommy in stasis lock. Yeah, he escapes with Rita's help, but this stasis lock allows the Rangers to find out the Green Ranger's biological identity, which leads them to Tommy. Finally, things start making sense. And then comes time for the final battle. Tommy summons his Dragon Zord while Alpha finally brings Zordon back into the picture, and the Dino Zords are recovered. This is when we get to see what Jason is truly made of as they together defeat the Dragon Sword and Jason destroys the Sword of Darkness. This allows them to finally break Rita's spell on Tommy, who obviously feels horrible about everything he has done, but the Rangers, especially Jason, reassure him that it was all because of Rita, and they even offer him a spot on their team, which Tommy readily accepts. And before you know it, Zordon officially welcomed Tommy into the group and Billy gave him a wrist communicator. That's how the Rangers went from a team of 5 to a team of 6. But this wasn't the end of Tommy's journey. Eventually, as the story moved forward in the episode The Green Candle, we found out that Tommy's powers were linked to a magic wax that Rita Repulsa had turned into the Green Candle. And the trick was that as the Green Candle burned, so did Tommy's powers. But Tommy chose to stick by the Ranger's side and give up his power coin to Jason, to prevent his powers from returning to Rita. This man was truly meant to be a hero. He chose to continue fighting even as his powers kept draining, because sacrificing and staying by his friends meant more to him than keeping his powers. And though eventually he was no longer the Green Ranger, he remained with the group, as a friend and a ranger in spirit. That was until Season 2, where during the episode White Light Part 2, Tommy returned to the front line as the White Ranger. What a momentous return, honestly. Zordon turned him into the White Ranger using the white light of good, which would protect him from darkness ever taking control, which is kind of well deserved after everything he went through with Rita. He even became the new leader, which really shows the growth and beautiful character arc Tommy had on the show. He went from manipulated, brainwashed antagonist to a self-sacrificing hero. And that's exactly what makes him so special and what makes Power Rangers such an iconic show.
Yeah, I can feel it!
Jason Lee Scott, Gold Ranger. Okay, boys and girls, next up we have Jason Lee Scott and how he went from being the legendary Red Ranger to the Gold Ranger in a moment of crisis and need. We all know Jason wearing that red tank top and being the undisputed martial arts king. He played a pivotal role as the Red Ranger and team leader in Mighty Morphin before he stepped down. So imagine our shock when he takes on the mantle and also the burden of the Gold Ranger in Power Rangers Zeo. Wait, let me explain. So the golden powers actually belong to Trey of Treforia. But when he crash-landed on Aquitar, he split into his 3 forms, Trey of Courage, Trey of Heart, and Trey of Wisdom. Each of them had their own body and their own existence, but of course they weren't powerful or stable enough on their own to carry the Golden Ranger's powers. So they ended up on Earth looking for someone to take over the mantle so they can return to Treforia and try to reunite the 3 souls. And to make things even more interesting, they had a ticking clock. Because if they didn't transfer the power soon enough, they would be lost for good. And this is when the Power Rangers come into the picture. At first, Billy tried to absorb the powers, but failed. There was a larger reason behind that because Billy had already absorbed negative energy from when the command center had been destroyed. So his body pretty much rejected the golden power. Eventually, Tommy recognized that this was the perfect time to bring back Jason, since he would be able to contain the golden powers. But I think we all know that nothing is ever that simple for these Rangers. On their way to the power chamber, they were attacked by King Mondo's cogs. Unfortunately, they were too far from the power chamber and couldn't be teleported yet, and nor could they use their powers. So they had to rely on their OG martial arts skills and fight the cogs until they could find that perfect moment to escape. Fortunately, they did and were soon transported to the power chamber. And that's when the transfer of powers took place. In quite a dramatic fashion, that too. Each of the forms of Trey bestowed something upon Jason. Trey of Courage gave him the spirit and fortitude the golden power possesses. Trey of Heart embraced Jason with kindness and empathy, and finally the Trey of Wisdom gave him the knowledge and experience of his people of Treforia. And bam, with a bunch of golden light and some loud thundering noises, Jason successfully transformed into Golden Ranger with his golden power staff and command over Pyramidas. But of course, it wasn't just all rainbows and sunshine. The golden powers were unstable. You see, they were never meant to be carried by someone from Earth, since they were incompatible with human physiology. These powers were specifically built and created for Treforian physiology, where they could essentially distribute the energy across 3 bodies or forms. But Jason had to hold and contain all of it within a single human body. And naturally, this began to take a toll over time and started draining him. And when they analyzed him in the power chamber, they realized that not only would they soon lose the golden powers, but they would also lose Jason too. The powers were practically killing him. Fortunately, they managed to help Trey reunite his three forms, and Jason gave up the golden powers just in time to be saved. This really shows why Jason was such a good leader of the Power Rangers. He understands both the power and the grave responsibilities that come with being a Ranger. And though he was upset at having to give up his powers, he realized that there was a lot more to life than saving the world. And I mean, hey, been there, done that, right? My guy has already saved Earth like a billion times. He deserves to go back to retirement and find joy in the simple things in life. Zhane, Silver Ranger. Next up, we have the franchise's very first Silver Ranger in Zhane, and the story actually begins long before his cinematic re-entrance in Power Rangers in Space Season 1, Episode 20, called Survival of the Silver. To understand his transformation, we actually have to go way back when he and his best friend, Red Ranger Andros, both from the planet KO-35, had to defend their home against the forces of Dark Spectre. Now, during this battle, Zhane truly shows us what he's made of and how much he cares about his friend. You see, when Andros was fighting a red statue monster, he was on the verge of being overwhelmed with an attack coming right at him. But Zhane could never let that happen, and ever so instinctively intercepted the attack by running into the monster and the subsequent explosion. He practically took a bullet for his friend, and his brave sacrifice left him fatally wounded, and he had to be kept in a cryogenic chamber to preserve his life. All Andros wanted was to save his friend and restore him, but with the conflict raging, there was nothing much he could do except keep him in cryosleep and hope for the best. Zhane remained in stasis for like 2 years in the Astro Megaship, until finally one day the ship crashed onto Cadix as they were attacked by scavengers, and Zane's cryo chamber temporarily malfunctioned. Right before that, the rest of the Rangers had actually found the hidden cryo chamber, which had popped open when their engines were destabilized. And that's when Andros told the rest of them who Zhane is, introducing him as his best friend and telling the story of Zane's sacrifice. Now, when they landed on Cadix and had to fend off the monsters, Andros sensed that something was wrong with Zhane. He had flatlined, and Andros fell to his knees in devastation. But little did he know, his best friend was actually back this time. His heart started beating and fingers moving, and intuitively, the cryopod opened up. And as the Rangers saw scavengers being kicked off their ship by someone, Zhane made his entry as the Silver Ranger. With an iconic one-liner, that too. "Whatever it is you just said, I'm gonna make you eat your words." He then single-handedly battled the monster Lunatic by using his Super Silverizer, and even had a sweet reunion with his bestie Andros. Of course, he wasted no time in returning to action with his new team. But things, as usual, weren't all smooth sailing. Zane's powers started to malfunction, and he often ended up demorphing during important battles. And you definitely cannot afford that. Turns out he just couldn't remain morphed for too long as a consequence of his 2-year cryosleep. His powers would leak as a result, and he would have to essentially recharge it. Now that's a pain in the ass, right? But fortunately, there came the perfect opportunity when Zhane located an electric storm and absorbed a lightning strike that helped him stabilize his connection to his powers. Phew! I don't know what Andros would have done if he had to lose his bestie yet again. Ryan Mitchell, Titanium Ranger. We've got yet another case of manipulation with Ryan Mitchell, who eventually becomes the Titanium Ranger. What is it with these Rangers having such wholesome arcs, man? Okay, so Ryan's story began when he was just a kid. Let me give you some context. Ryan is the son of Lightspeed Rescue Commander Captain William Mitchell and the brother of Dana Mitchell, the Pink Ranger. And all three of them had ended up in a car accident. They were literally suspended off a cliff. Unfortunately, Captain Mitchell could only save Dana, and Ryan was literally dangling off of his shoes. And that's when the story had a twist, a big one. The spirit demon of the Diabolico offered Captain Mitchell a deal. He would save his son, but on one condition. He would also raise the child himself, and Captain Mitchell wouldn't see him until his 20th birthday. What a crazy would you rather, man? It's like Sophie's Choice, but 100 times more evil. And trust me when I say William Mitchell really did not want to take that deal. But when Ryan began to fall to his demise, a father could only do one thing: do whatever it takes to save his child. And that's when the manipulation began. Diabolico turned Ryan against his own family by convincing him that his father had abandoned him and chosen his sister Dana over him. Once he had successfully brought Ryan to his side on his 20th birthday, as promised, he sent him on the mission of stealing the prototype Titanium Morpher from the Aqua base to destroy the Power Rangers. and he did indeed succeed in becoming the Titanium Ranger, but he did succumb to the V-Lancers, which left him incapacitated. Enter Captain Mitchell, who stopped the Rangers from firing at Ryan and even saved him from Diabolico by reminding him of all his memories. Once Ryan recalled them, he finally realized what was happening and decided to switch teams to join the Lightspeed Rangers. But if y'all know my guy Diabolico, you know he ain't taking any of this sitting down. So he responds by cursing Ryan with a cobra tattoo on his back, which would slowly crawl up to his neck every time he morphed, and eventually kill him. And this cobra tattoo wasn't just a tattoo, it was an actual demon called the Cobra Incarnate, and Ryan had to go all the way to the tomb of the demon and defeat him. Let me tell you, it was definitely not an easy fight. It took everything until he finally used his titanium axe to crash a column on Cobra and free himself from the curse. And this entire arc really shows you that when given the choice, he chose the side of good. Eric Meyers, Quantum Ranger. Okay, now this story is one that's really interesting and different from the rest. There isn't any manipulation or brainwashing this time because Eric Meyers chooses to tread the border of good and evil. Yep, we've got an anti-hero on our hands. So, Eric Meyers was a child born in poverty who hated people who had things handed to them. And hey, rightfully so, my guy had to fight for every single penny and every opportunity. So it only makes sense that he absolutely despised future Red Ranger Wesley Collins, who was the son of the literal billionaire Mr. Collins. He was literally born with a silver spoon in his mouth, man. Eventually, after leaving the prep school, Eric grew up and ended up joining the Silver Guardians, which was actually the private security company of none other than Wes's father, Mr. Collins. He eventually even goes to Silver Hills to defend a jewelry store heist. And then there's that one pivotal moment in his story. He meets Wes many years later and finds out that he is the Red Time Force Ranger. Now just imagine that. The guy you despised for having things easy is now the frigging Red Ranger? Like, that feels like the biggest slap in the face, I'm not even gonna lie. So it's natural that when he heard the Time Force Rangers were after the quantum powers, he decided to go after it and get it for himself. He found out that the quantum morpher was being contained in an ancient box and literally raced against the Time Force Rangers to claim it. And of course he has to forcibly combine with the morpher, but he does indeed succeed in becoming the Quantum Ranger. Yes, the Time Rangers are pissed as hell, but can't really do much about it. And hey, Eric does prove himself as the Quantum Ranger by piloting the Quantosaurus Rex Megazord, which even impresses Mr. Collins, who finally allows him to become the leader of the Guardians. What I like is that he remains true to himself throughout. He doesn't pretend to be some hero he isn't, and suddenly be all nice and sweet to the Rangers. He stands his ground and does his job. Does it well, in fact. Merrick Ballatin, Lunar Wolf Ranger. We're back to the good to bad to good arc, guys. Let's start at the very beginning, which is actually a long time back. You see, Merrick Ballatin was one of 6 ancient warriors who defended the land of Animaria from the Orgs, and Merrick specifically was meant to protect Princess Shayla, whom he also loved. But things went out of hand since Master Org was simply too powerful and the warriors couldn't defeat him. Merrick, feeling the responsibility fall onto his shoulder, went out to look for the Forbidden Wolf Mask, which would give him enough power to defeat Master Org. And that's exactly what he did. He found the mask at Nazor's temple and used it to summon a bunch of wild Zords and successfully defeat Master Org. But it all came with a big cost. The mask permanently bonded with him and trapped him within the curse of Zhane Aku. And it genuinely began to take a toll on him and started changing him. Under its influence, he even attacked his own teammates. That's when they had to make the tough decision, either destroy him along with Zhane Aku or imprison him for as long as possible. Obviously they chose the latter, but we all know you can't keep these things locked up for too long. In the present timeline, a new Master Org once again started off a whole new battle with the present warrior team, aka the Wild Force Rangers, and even freed Zhane Aku to help them in their mission. And here's another twist. Zhane Aku had no memories from when he was still human, still Merrick, but he would recall his memories when he turned human every month on a new moon night. Quite an interesting situation, right? Then, over the Curse of the Wolf arc, the Wild Force Rangers finally discovered who Zhane Aku really was. And let me tell you, he was insanely powerful. The only way to defeat him was definitely to bring his memories back somehow. So that's exactly what they did. Fortunately, he did regain some of his memories around Princess Shayla since he loved her, and those are some strong feelings after all. Finally, the Rangers figured out that they needed to destroy the Predazord to free Merrick from the curse, and they succeeded in doing so with the help of the Wild Zords. When the spell was broken, naturally, just as Tommy felt, Merrick too felt a whole lot of guilt and could never forgive himself for what he did as Zen Aku. Poor guy. But that wasn't it for him. He wanted revenge and redemption, so he went after Master Org once more. Fortunately, this time the Wolf Wild Zord granted Merrick the Lunar Collar, which allowed him to morph into the Lunar Wolf Ranger, and that's how he defeated Quadra Org. Sadly, even though he helped out the Rangers now and then, he decided to live his life as a wandering lone wolf, and I get it. After everything he went through, it makes sense why he would choose such a life. And there you have it, 6 immensely special Power Rangers who have had some serious character arcs and stories that you can root for. Whether it's Tommy with his journey from reluctant bad guy to team leader, or even Eric who despite his hatred does manage to do good and help out every time he's needed. And I think that's exactly what makes each of them so special. Now guys, as always, smash the like button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to the channel for more updates. We'll see you soon, goodbye!